Hello, you're watching World Talks on TVP World. My name is Sasha Farbach. The United States is preparing to withdraw around 5,000 troops from Germany over the next year, potentially reshaping NATO's military footprint in Europe at a time of heightened tensions with Russia and uncertainty inside the transatlantic alliance. Poland has already signaled that it is ready to host additional American forces, while Berlin is simultaneously reviving efforts to purchase U.S. Tomahawk cruise missiles and long-range Typhoon launchers. Now, joining us now to talk about it more is Knut Abraham, coordinator for German-Polish Intersocietal and Cross-Border Cooperation. Good to have you with us. Welcome.
Good morning from Germany. Hello.
And it's Germany I want to talk about right at the beginning. So, I mean, Germany still hosts the most U.S. troops in Europe. Still, even with this drawdown, it's still about 35,000 or so. First of all, what kind of, let's say, reaction has this elicited in Germany on a political scale that these troops are being withdrawn? And I'll ask the other question. First of all, that first reaction.
Well, it didn't really come as a complete surprise. We know that the U.S. troop presence in Germany is under review. So we know about the shifting, the pivot to Asia. We know the other theaters the U.S. need their forces in. So it was not a complete surprise. But what we have to see is everything what strengthens NATO is good. And everything what weakens NATO is bad. So it will be very important to see where these 5,000 troops will be stationed in future. Will they remain in Europe? So the balance would be equal, and that would be all right. If they withdrawn from Europe, that would not be so good news.
Mm-hmm. Interesting point there. So then let's go into what President Trump has said to a reporter just some days ago about where those troops could go. Questions about if they could go to Poland, he answered with, they might, and also some warm words about the relationship between Poland and the United States. So if that does indeed become the case, how does Germany react to that? Is it, as you said, it strengthens NATO, or would there be some kind of beginnings of, let's say, a strategic competition?
I think we have always to look at the big picture. And this is, again, we need to strengthen NATO. We need to keep the Americans engaged in Europe, in the European theater. So we should do jointly, Poland, Germany, and the other allied nations, should do jointly everything to keep the US inside Europe, inside NATO. And we should not regard it as a national competition between the allies. So if these 5,000 troops would be stationed to Poland, fine, that would be fostering the eastern flank. And that is very welcome, of course. On the other hand, it would be, again, not that very good if these troops would be withdrawn from Europe as a whole. So my main point is we should always see the whole alliance strengthening NATO as such, and then see where is the best place to have the troops stationed. In this sense, I would welcome any fostering of American presence in Poland.
All right. And also, I think the Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk, had said this, that he's not trying to, I'm quoting here, poach troops from anywhere, mentioning Germany there. But at the same time, the Defense Minister of Poland has also said that they're ready to receive them. Just curious, as you said, in terms of coordination now, does this maybe make Poland, in your sense, more of a bridge, more of a strategic authority in terms of, let's say, NATO guidance, more than it has in the past? I mean, given about all the defense spending and all what Poland has done?
Well, Poland has no doubt taken a leading role in the defense of NATO, of Europe. And in this sense, as we can see, very good cooperation between the US and Poland is welcomed from Berlin. Again, we don't see this as a competition, and Poland is situated at the borders of Ukraine, which is victim of the Russian aggression. So fostering, strengthening Poland means strengthening NATO. And in this sense, every move in that direction is welcome.
There's also, I mean, if we look also at the details here a little bit, Chancellor Merz, now that he had initially more of a warmer connection with Donald Trump, that first visit he made last year, that's changed because of the issues on the Iran war. At the same time, we have Germany now trying to get Tomahawk missiles, these new Typhoon launchers as well from Washington. Is he trying to do damage control, or is this another thing that was strategically already on the cards?
I think the relationship between the German Chancellor and the US President is still okay. There had been a discussion on a quote by Friedrich Merz whether Iran is humiliating the US, but that was more of a misunderstanding. So on the Tomahawk, we have heard the announcement that the US are putting that process also under review. And on the table should be every option, because we need these medium-range cruise missiles, these Tomahawk or other systems. We need them to counterbalance the threat mainly coming from Koleviets or Kaliningrad or Königsberg, as you wish, where the Russians have stationed their medium-range cruise missiles. And to counterbalance that, we urgently need these weapons. And we have to do everything to make them appear in NATO capacities.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I mean, we've seen this, and this has come from a push as well across European capitals, but also Germany, that we're trying to build up European capacity, moving slightly away from that dependence of American technology. So it just might come then a little bit surprising that we are now having the Germans try to acquire these. Should we not build our own capacities? Are there French, British, other capacities available?
So in medium term, we need to build up our own capabilities, European capabilities under our own control, and reduce the dependency on the US and US weapon systems. But the point is, and we see it every day with the war against Ukraine, the threat is imminent. So we don't have much time. And that means that we have to look at every option on the table to have a quick solution of the problem, but not neglecting the European dimension. We will certainly need that.
Mm-hmm. And also, I'm curious because, I mean, if we have this drawdown of these 5,000 U.S. troops, I know that Germany, very critically important also on the eastern flank. We have that, I think, around 5,000, that planned brigade in Lithuania, permanent brigade stationed there. That's a very first for Germany after the Second World War. But having this drawdown, does that shift in any way Germany's capacity for making that brigade continue? Does that redraw its own forces, or are they not connected?
No, to my understanding, these two issues are not connected. We are with full engagement preparing the brigade in Lithuania, and it is, as you've said correctly, the first time after the Second World War that German troops in that dimension are stationed abroad. So it's a real endeavor. But the Tomahawk question, the cruise missile, is a different story. Not connected to the brigade in Lithuania.
Mm-hmm. And also, I mean, if Trump carries on these other comments, he's also made veiled threats in terms of also removing troops, U.S. troops from Spain, potentially from Italy. We've had Marco Rubio in Italy saying that hopefully might not happen. But nevertheless, how does Germany, how does this cooperation continue? How do we interpret that strategically? Does Europe have to do more faster, or how do you see this newest comment by Trump?
Yes, we have to be very clear that the European security lays mainly in European hands. But the way of reaching the improvements is in NATO. And that should be the understanding, to foster the European pillar of NATO in every sense. but it means also not to refrain from, encouraging the U.S. To leave and to shift, to balance things to Asia. So we need the Americans in Europe, but simultaneously, at the same time, foster, strengthen the European pillar.
All right, so thanks for all that analysis. Really interesting stuff from Germany. Knut Abraham, coordinator, German-Polish Intersocietal and Cross-Border Cooperation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us. That concludes World Talks, but stay right here on TVP World for more. Goodbye.